the cloud. I think is good. All right. Well, here we go. The last restorative class from this studio. We'll see what the future brings, and hopefully there are some good new beginnings. Maybe not on Franklin Street, but maybe somewhere else. So 2 blocks, 2 blankets, a strap, a bolster, and a chair. That's what we would need for today. And we're gonna get started with a little bit of breath work. I think we all could use a little bit of focusing on the inhale, focusing on the exhale. If you need to sit up on a blanket, please do that, or on a block. If you need to support your comfortably crossed legs, please do that. Close your eyes, soften your eyelids, and soften your jaw, soften the facial muscles. Notice where your body weight is. Am I sitting more on the right buttocks or on the left buttocks? Am I leaning forward? Am I leaning backwards? Bring your attention to your shoulders. Is my right shoulder higher? Does it feel closer to my right ear than the left shoulder to the left ear? Where does my chin point? Do I have the tendency to tuck it in? Is the chin level with the floor, or do I have the tendency to lift up the chin? Can you bring your attention to the crown of the head? If you had a ponytail on the crown of your head, and start lengthening up towards the ceiling. That will lengthen the spine, that will traction the vertebrae, and it will level the chin with the floor. Then slowly open your eyes, keep your legs where it is. Think about your torso as a 3-piece property. The first piece is between your groins and your belly button, front, side, and back. Second piece between the belly button and the bottom of the rib cage, all around, front, side where your floating ribs are, and the back where your floating ribs are. And the third part of the upper body is your chest, upper chest, armpits, and in the back where your shoulder blades are. So now switch your legs to the other way. Still support the legs if you need to. You could close your eyes, place one hand onto the lowest part of the belly and one hand onto the lowest part of the lumbar spine, where your buttocks meet your lumbar spine. Close your eyes and take 3 full breaths into the lower belly and the lower back. Feel the hands moving away from each other with your inhale. I'd like you to focus on not just expanding the belly, but also expanding the lumbar spine. You're gonna feel the skin of the back moving into your hand a little more with your inhale. And when you exhale, scoop the belly button towards the spine and gently press the hands together. Just guide the body to a little squeeze, almost like an accordion pushing in. 2 more times. Slow inhale through the nose. And slower exhale through the mouth. In the restorative practice, let's try to get the exhale a couple of seconds longer than your inhale was. 1 more time. Then bring your hand to the medium part of your thoracic spine, the area between the belly button and the bottom of the rib cage, and the area between the middle back. Expand with your inhale, front, back, and also side to side. Some of you might prefer to have the hands on the side so you could feel the side expansion. Exhale, squeeze the rib cage towards each other, pull the upper belly in. Again, just like an accordion, or pretend that you are wearing a corset and you pull in that, you squeeze in that corset as tight as you could be with your exhale. Inhale and expand. Notice where the air goes easily and where the air doesn't want to go. Exhale all out. And do that one more time. Exhale it all, full exhale. Then bring one hand onto the chest. If you have good range of motion, bring the other hand between the shoulder blades. If this is not comfortable, you could give yourself a big hug and just place your hands under the armpit so you could feel the expansion sideways instead of front to back. Inhale and expand into the upper chest and the armpits. Feel the shoulder blades moving away from each other. It's almost like you start slouching a little bit. That's fine. Exhale, let go. Inhale, expand. Soften the face. Exhale, let go. One more time. Open your eyes. If your eyes were closed, bring the hands onto your thighs. And now think about the three part of the torso, what we just did. And we're gonna take 3 full breaths, bring in each part of the breath to an expansion with the inhale, and then gradually exhaling through the 3 parts. So think of a wave. First part of the inhale is coming to the lower belly, lower back. Second part of the first inhale is coming to the midsection. And third part of the first inhale is coming to the upper chest, upper back. Exhale through the nose, expand the exhale a couple of seconds longer than your inhale was. Let's do that 3 more times on your own. Think about a wave, starting from the bottom, from the pelvis, going and expanding through the mid-back, mid-belly, expanding through the chest, upper back, and then let it go. All exhale, fully exhale. Keep exhaling a second longer than you think that you are already finished. 2 more times. Then bring your eyes open, take those blocks away, and lean forward a little bit with the whole body. Notice the weight shifting to the front of the sit bones, and then lean back behind the sit bones. And do that a couple of more times. Just the whole upper body shifting from front to back. Notice where your chin and where your gaze tend to go. You're rocking on the sit bones. Come to the center, now lean to the right and lean to the left. Notice when you lean to the right, the left sit bone wants to come off the floor, put it back. And when you lean to the left, the right sit bone wants to come off the floor, put it back. Do that again. And then come to the center, lean over towards the shin, and then make a circle with your entire upper body. So this is a little different. It's not just a thoracic ribcage circle. We move in the lumbar spine, we move in the mid back, we move in the upper back, shoulders and head into this circular movement 3 times clockwise and 3 times counterclockwise. And then lengthen up through the crown of the head, throat directly over the tailbone, and notice that your torso should feel a little taller. Straighten your legs. Find your belt and hook up both feet. If you were sitting on a blanket, scoot off the blanket. Hook up both feet, straighten the legs, knees straight as much as you can, and then flex the foot and ankle, pull the toes towards you. Lengthen through the spine, take a long inhale, and with your exhale, hinge forward. Walk your hands down on the belt. Let the shoulders come up to your ears for a second, and then squeeze the shoulder blades down and together towards your buttocks and lift the front of the breastbone. Pull all toes towards you, tell the pinky toes to come to the outside of the hip. So you feel a little bit of rotation by the right pinky coming to the right hip, left pinky coming to the left hip. Then pull the shoulders up, reach the chin forward and fold over the thighs while you walk in your hands down over the thighs. Some of you will be able to catch the outside of the feet. Do that. If not, hang on to the belt. Fully release the neck and the head. The chin tucks into the chest. The shoulders pull up to your ears and the pelvis tilts back. Notice the rounding from your sacrum through the crown of the head. Keep the legs where they are, keep the shoulders high, and slowly move your head from side to side if you were saying no. Chin from one armpit to the other. Once you did 3 or 4, start nodding your head if you were saying yes. Bring the chin all the way to the throat and then lift the head by engaging the neck extensors. Once you did a few of these, notice that your forward fold becomes easier. You can go a little deeper. Do not look up. Let the head just dangle, tuck in the chin. Push through the right heel and pull the left hip back. Try to keep the knee straight. The movement is coming from your sacrum. And then push the left leg forward through the left heel, pull the right hip back. You should feel this in your sacroiliac joint, which is right around your butt crack, if you will. Right heel forward, left hip back. Slowly through the center, left leg forward, right hip back. Every time you make your way through the center, pull a little closer to your knees with your chest. Right leg forward, left hip back. Stay there. Find your right armpit and guide it towards the left pinky toe, which will give you a spinal rotation towards the left. Pull the left shoulder to your left ear. That should stretch the left side of the body and tuck the pelvis under a little bit. Take 3 full breaths in here. If you feel that you want to move your rib cage, you could do a little rib cage gliding and sliding, maybe some circular movement with the rib cage. If you don't feel like moving it, just hold a stretch. Expand with each inhale. Think about a slow and even inhale, not necessarily a very deep inhale. And then come through the center, level the feet, push the left heel forward, pull the right hip back as much as you can. Guide the left armpit towards the right pinky toe. Pull the right shoulder up to your right ear. And maybe some thoracic movement, maybe a little bit of rib cage shifting. Maybe not, maybe just the stretch itself and surrendering. Come through the center, pull the chest a little closer, release the head even more. Find your floating ribs in the back, where your kidneys are. Can you tip the floating ribs up towards the ceiling? Let the shoulders help you to pull the shoulder by pulling the shoulders to the ears and tipping the bottom of the rib cage towards the ceiling while you tuck in the pelvis under. And this will stretch the fascia between your floating ribs and the top of the pelvis directly over the low back. Now you created that stretch. Take 3 full breaths into that area. You want to cement that space in a good way. You want to keep creating more space, and you want to keep it open for those vertebrae, for the fascia, for the connective tissues. Soften your face. If you were hanging into the belt, slowly let go. If you were hanging onto the feet, let go. Bend the elbows and slide the elbows towards your buttocks. Tuck in the chin. Tuck in the chin even more. Pull the shoulders up to your ears and then pull the shoulders away from your ears. Just the right shoulder to the right ear as high as you can. Let go. Left shoulder to the left ear. Feel that stretch. Let go. Both shoulder to the ears. Can I round a little more? And then keeping the chin tucked in, tip the pelvis back, lengthen up the lumbar spine by stacking the vertebrae on the top of each other. Mid back, upper back, let the shoulders pull all the way up to your ears to facilitate the neck extension. Then once the head is up and the chin is level to the floor, release the shoulders away from your ears. Open your eyes and look straight ahead for a moment. Then pull your shoulders up to your ears, squeeze the shoulder blades back and squeeze them down on the rib cage to a little bit of shoulder blade circle. Shoulders up, back, and down. One more time, up, back, and down. All right. Take the legs out to the front and spread the legs as much as you can. Then bring the legs a little closer to each other, making sure that you're not tipping backwards. And I probably would recommend to sit up on a blanket or some kind of height. You do want to have some blocks and maybe the bolster to the front of the mat. First, sit to the edge of the blanket so you can feel that your pelvis is tipping forward. Lift the chest up and lean forward. Bring your hands on or onto the floor or onto a block to a comfortable position. It's just a gentle tilt. Legs are relaxing. No necessary any kind of instruction for the legs. If they want to roll out, they roll out. If the ankles wants to open or close, flex or extend, just feel what's comfortable. And then after you hinged forward, see if you can round forward a little more, finding an appropriate height. Then tuck in the chin, pull the shoulders up, and see if you can round a little more by bringing the chest lower. Now, depending on what's going on in your low back, you might need more height on this. So blocks and bolster, or even the chair or the stool would be a good idea. We'll be doing a little bit of movement in here, so don't go to your full rounded position yet. Once you pull the shoulders up, find your right heel and push that right heel away from the right front hip. Mostly think about the inner right heel. And when you reach that inner right heel forward, you should feel a stretch in the groins or around the middle leg, around the knee, or in the calf muscle, depending on where the leg is the tightest. Relax that and push the left inner heel away from the left front groins. Relax. 2 more times on each side. And then once you did 3 or 4, notice that your forward fold becomes a little easier. Release the head. If the head is not touching anything, if you haven't rested the forehead on something, turn your head from side to side, saying no. If you did have the head resting on something, just move your lower jaw from side to side. That still gives you some mobility drill. And then maybe nodding with the head. If the forehead is supported, just roll your eyes around. Once you move the neck, the jaw, and the head, your forward fold becomes a little deeper. Now find your rib cage and move the rib cage around. Maybe just push it forward, then back, side to side, or maybe do a little bit of circling or gliding movement with the rib cage. 3 or 4 movements starting from left to right and right to left. Notice which side is tighter, and you might want to do a little more on the tighter side before we fully settle into the hold-in position. Scan your body before you start holding. Make sure that the legs are getting some stretch, but not too much. Make sure that the knees, ankles, and lumbar spine in a proper position and you're not in any discomfort or pain. If you are, you need to back off a little bit and come and support yourself with some higher props. Find the three-part breath, the breath that we practiced at the very beginning. The first part of the breath is coming to the lower part of the body, lower part of the thoracic, lower part of the upper body, around the belly, the outside of the hips, and mostly to the lumbar spine. So the most expansion I'd like you to focus on and create is the lumbar spine with each inhale. When you exhale, you surrender. Next few breaths is coming to the midsection of the rib cage, and again focus on the posterior part, your floating ribs in the back. Every inhale is an expansion. Every exhale is a surrender. Notice how the rest of the body responds to expanding the lumbar spine. And then the third part of the breath is, well, the breath from here into the third part. Think of your armpits and your shoulder blades. Every inhale is going to expand the shoulder blades, widening the upper back, widening the armpits, and exhale, letting go. We don't usually think of the shoulder blades and the armpits necessarily, and very important to create some breath work towards the armpits because there are some lymph nodes around there. And these lymph nodes are helping to get rid of the waste in the body. And if they don't get enough excitement and action, they don't work that well. So a couple of things move the lymph. The first one is breath, and the second one is movement. Very important, not only for women, but also for guys. And sometimes this area gets a little bit neglected. Once you're ready with the top part of the body, we're going to connect the three parts again. And it's going to be one long inhale. First part of the inhale to the lower back. Second part of the inhale to the midsection, to the floating ribs. And third part of the inhale is to the upper back. And then exhale a couple of seconds longer, or just even 1 second longer than your long inhale was. Think about that you are a free diver and you really need to work on your breath to create as long inhales and exhales as you can before you jump into the water and go deep. Can we manage that oxygen? Can we get the air to each single muscle cell, each single cell? We think about the lungs when we talking about breath. We never really think about that respiration is actually occurring in every single cell in the body, not just in the lungs. A couple of more rounds in here. Soften the face, soften the glutes. Whenever your next inhale comes, bring the hands onto the floor so you can push yourself up to seated. Scoot off the blanket for a moment. Put that behind you. We're gonna need it in a moment. Take the blocks out to the side. We also gonna need that. Lean back with the legs apart. Notice where your spine is. Notice if your shoulders are internally rotated. Can you press down to your hands and lift the breastbone up, lift the chin up, look up. Let the low back arch, tilt the pelvis forward. If looking up makes you dizzy, close your eyes. Hold the position, 3 full breaths in and out. This is a different rounding of the entire upper back. Notice if the air goes to different parts of the body. And then tuck in the chin, lengthen through the crown of the head. Bring the hands to the side so you can help the legs to come together. And we're gonna lie down on the floor. I'd like you to prep yourself in a way that you have the blocks or some kind of support on each side. You will have the blanket, not the blanket, the block, the blocks on each side and the belt close by so you can grab it. And there should be a blanket or a cushion under your head. So you could place the back of the neck and the head on the support. First, just bend the knees. Feet are about hip width apart. Knock the knees together. Chin is tucked in, and the hands come to the front of the pelvis. Notice the height of your pelvic bones. Just notice the difference. Which one feels higher? Which one feels a little bit forward tipped? Don't change anything. Notice the status of your lumbar spine. Is it arching? Is it flat? Maybe one side is further away from the ground than the other side. Walk your feet as wide as your mat is and knock your knees together. Tip the pelvis forward, let the low back arch. And also find the lower part of the mid-back and lift that away from the floor. Exhale, tip the pelvis back, flatten the lumbar spine, flatten the mid-back, and keep tipping the pelvis back, keep pulling the pubic bone towards your belly button. Inhale, let the pelvis tip forward. You're rocking on your sacrum. Go slow as you can. Exhale, tip the pelvis back. Flatten the entire back. Think of your vertebrae that they are little pearls and you're gonna push them each onto the floor. One more time, forward, tipping the pelvis forward. And tipping the pelvis back. Then bring the spine and the pelvis to a neutral position. Ground through the feet, and while the feet are not moving, try to reach the right knee up towards the ceiling while it still stays in touch with the left knee. The right booty leaves the floor a little bit. Your right sacrum is moving. Traction in the left sacrum is moving towards the floor. Then reach the left knee up diagonally while the right buttocks is pushing into the floor. 2 more times. Right knee reaches, the feet are not moving. All 4 corners of the feet are down onto the floor. Feel the right lumbar spine arching. When you reach the left knee, the left lumbar spine will arch. Slowly come back. One more time. Right leg. And the left leg. Move slow. And then have the hands on the pelvis And just notice the height of the pelvis. Should be a little more even, and the low back should be a little more, a little closer to the floor. Then grab your belt. Hook up your right leg. Straighten, the belt is in both hands. The right leg is as straight as you can, and flex the right ankle, pushing the right heel up to the ceiling. If your lumbar spine is, if your low back is a little tight or painful, keep the left leg bent. If not, straighten the left leg onto the floor and push the left heel towards the front of the mat. Belt is in both hands. Bend the right knee, bring the right knee towards the chest while you lower in the right heel to your buttocks. Extend the right knee back to the ceiling and press through the ceiling if you were responsible for holding the roof. Again, bend the right knee, the same time right heel comes towards the buttocks. It might not touch, that's fine. Exhale, straighten the leg, press up. One more time, bend the knee. Straighten the leg up. Push through the heel. Walk your hands a little higher on that belt. Pretend that there is a pencil on the top of that right heel. And let's do 3 circles on the ceiling with that pencil. The whole right leg is moving as one unit. I'd like you to feel the movement from the hip socket while you reach in towards the ceiling with your heels. 3 circles in each directions. Grab the belt into your left hand. Internally rotate the right leg and take the right leg across the midline all the way to the left. Go with your twist until your leg ends up on a block or on the floor or some kind of support. I know it means that the right shoulder blade will come off the floor, that's fine. Once the right leg is resting on something, reach the right arm out to the side, soften the elbow if the shoulder is bugging you. You could also bring the arm towards the ears, depending on what feels a better stretch to you. Find the space between your right hip and the right armpit. Before we do the breath, can you reach your right sit bone towards the left heel? And that will lengthen the entire right side of the body. First 3 breaths is coming to the lower waistline on the right. Try to expand as much as you can with each inhale. If you catch yourself squeezing the buttocks, let that go. Next 3 breath is coming to the middle of that right waistline where your floating ribs are in the front and in the back. Let's do 3 breaths in there. Notice if it's easier to inflate the front or the back floating ribs, and I'd like you to find the one that is harder and really focus on that. Envision your rib cage being pumped outwards. If you were swallowing a balloon and it would get stuck in your lower rib cage. I know it's a funny image, but it might help. And the third part of the breath, the third breath is coming, not the third part, the third breath is coming under the right armpit. Is it more directly under the armpit that is tight? Is it towards the front, right upper chest, or is it towards the shoulder blades? You know better than I do So take the next 3 breaths to the tightest area. The next 3 breaths will be 3 parts of 3 breaths. So first part of inhale is coming to the lower waistline. Still inhaling to the middle of that waistline and still inhaling to the upper chest, armpits, and upper back. Exhale, let it go any way you like. And let's do that 3 more times. Think of a wave, starting the expansion from the lumbar, top of the hips, middle, upper, and let it go. Sometimes when we a little bit challenged or overstressed, it's actually nice to breathe out through the mouth. So it's almost like a sigh. This is a great time to explore that. How does that make you feel? Notice the tension in your jaw. And then start engaging the core and the right leg. And let's bring that right leg back to the center by turning the buttocks and the back onto the floor. Catch the belt with both hands just for a moment and see if you can bring the right leg closer, the straight right leg closer to your chest. Bend that right knee, take the belt away and straighten the right leg on the floor next to the left. Place both hands on the top of the pelvis and notice the level of the bones in the pelvis. Notice the weight of the right leg, the length of the right leg, and the entire right side of the upper body. It should feel different than the left. Take a moment. Then rebend both knees. Tuck the pelvis under so you can flatten the low back and hook up your left leg. Grab the belt with both hands. Straighten the leg as much as you can. Flex the ankle. Pull the toes towards your nose and push the heel up towards the ceiling. If your low back is a little tight, keep the right knee bent. If not, straighten the right leg. Slowly bend the left knee, bring the left heel to the buttocks. And see if you can re-straighten that left leg by pressing the heel up to the ceiling. Let's do that again. Knee bends, heel to the buttocks. Exhale, straight legs. One more time. Knee bends, heel to the buttocks. Exhale, straight leg. Now you see you can walk your hand a little higher on that belt. Keep pulling the toes down. Flex the ankle. Pretend that there is a pencil on the top of that left heel. And let's do 3 circles in both directions. Keep the pelvis steady. Not a lot of rocking on the pelvis from side to side. I'd like you to think that you're tractioning that left leg out of the left hip socket. This is how you move it. So there is no bone on bone grinding in the hip socket itself. That is not good. Grab the belt into your right hand, internally rotate the left leg and slowly cross the leg towards the right. We want to make sure that we have some kind of support on the right, maybe a block, maybe the leg ends up on the floor, maybe a chair, a pad, if you will. And then once you rested the leg, the left arm could reach back to the left side and the chest turns up to the ceiling. Before we start the breath work, just reach your left sit bone towards the right heel and organize your left arm. Maybe I need to bring the arm up towards my ears. Maybe I get a little better stretch in there. Find the best feeling stretch. Then find the top of the left hip bone and the left armpit and divide that waistline for 3 sections. First section, lowest part, we're gonna take 3 breaths in there, expanding the left lumbar spine and the left waistline. If you catch yourself squeezing the buttocks, let that go. Find the midsection, floating ribs on the front, side, and back, and see where it feels the tightest, and the next few breaths is going there. I know around the left waistline is the back of the floating ribs, the back floating ribs, that's, I feel the most amount of contraction, so I need to breathe in there. But you might be feeling this tightness in the front, so please listen to your body and expand the area that feels the less spacious. And now find the third, the upper area. Upper chest, under the armpit or under the shoulder blades. Where does it feel the tightest? Direct the next 3 breaths in that area. Again, maybe a sigh at the end of the exhale. And now let's do the 3-part breath. First part of the inhale is to the lower part of the thoracic, lower part of the upper body, if you will. Second part, mid-thoracic, and still inhale to the upper chest, upper back, or armpit. It depends on where you're the tightest. So think of a wave starting from the top left hip through the floating ribs, through the upper chest, upper back to the armpit. Exhale is a long exhale. Let's practice 3 full breath cycle in here. Notice if you squeeze in your buttocks or if you squeeze in anywhere in the body. This is the time to let that tension go. And let's try to convince the brain that it is okay not to shorten those muscles. We are still safe. We still can be aligned without squeezing those muscles to a tight position. Slowly, with the next inhale, engage the core, engage the left leg, and bring the leg back to the center, roll in the back and the booty on the floor. So re-straighten that left leg and see if you can pull it a little closer to your chest. The hamstring should have lengthened a little bit. Then bend the knee, take the belt away, straighten the legs and put both legs, straighten both legs and put both hands on the top of the hips, the pelvic bone. Notice the weight distribution. Notice the weight of the legs, the length of the legs, and the position of the upper back. Take a couple of breaths in here. Start bending your knees. Tuck the pelvis under, flatten the low back, and then now hinge from the hips, bring the knees towards the chest, lift the head, rock a little bit from side to side, and then start rocking from front to back until you find yourself seated. You're not gonna stay seated for a long time. We're just gonna set up for the next position. And for this pose, we will need a bolster. We're gonna lie down on the right side of the body. A blanket needs to be under the head. A bolster will be between the knees. And we're gonna take a block or another cushion to the upper left part of the mat, about arm distance. First part of the position is hips are hinged, knees are bent, and you're just gonna lie down on your right side. Make sure that the blanket is thick enough so you can support the head well. So the bolster is between the knees and the shin or the and the feet. You are on your right shoulder. You could bring the right hand under the head if that's feel comfortable, or you could just bring the hand out to the side. Stay on the side. Think about the side seam of your shirt. You're gonna stay right on the side. Bring the knees as high as you can to your armpits, to your elbows. Close your eyes. No guided breath. I'd like you to take 5 breath cycle at your own pace, at your own rhythm. You find a way where to take the breath. Explore a little bit. Be curious. Where else can I take the breath? I always take it to the upper chest. What would it feel like if I want to take it down to my pelvic floor? What would it feel like if I want to expand my left armpit? So scan a little bit, just go around in the body. Soften the face. If you had the right hand under the head, slide it out, straighten it out in front of you, and place the left hand on the top of the right hand. Reach that left hand a little longer. Start lifting the left hand up. Reach it up to the ceiling. Then plug the left arm into the shoulder and start rolling onto your back, chest up to the ceiling. And maybe the left hand is going to end up on the block. If there is not a lot of rotation, definitely on the block or on a blanket or a cushion. If there is more rotation in your spine, the hand is going to end up on the floor. Both palms facing up. Press down through the head and lift a little bit the shoulder blades so you can shimmy the shoulder blades into a comfortable position. You're still squeezing the booster between the thighs and the knees. Arms out to a T. Again, if the arms need to be supported on something, that's fine. Now, notice your upper body. Notice your spine from your tailbone all the way up to the neck. Where does it feel that it has a good rotation? And where does it feel that it does not want to rotate? Is more like a stiff sensation, or is more like a straight, how can I say that? So it's not a full rotation on each vertebrae, it's more like a segmental, bigger segmental rotation. Find that area. And the next 5 breath cycle is going to be expanding that area. Unsqueeze your buttocks. Notice if you need to put the head and the neck into a different position. Pelvic floor muscles are relaxed, buttocks are relaxed. You fully surrender with open arms. When we have the arms open, the heart will open a little bit. And I think, thinking about our everyday lives lately, we all need some heart opener here and there. Energy centers are where the heart is, where your diaphragm is. So the body is really connected, not just through anatomy, physiology, and the nervous system and muscles and tendons, but through the entire, there is an energetic body, if you will. And the biggest centers are in the same area, nerve complex, very close to energy centers. When one is depleted, the other one will feel that depletion too. So we need to find a way, any way, to nourish all of them. Soften the belly. Notice if you're making a fist, can you release the fingers and the palm and the wrist bones? Then start bringing your attention back to the left hand. Engage the left side of the body. And then reach up that left arm to the ceiling. Start rolling back onto the right side. And bring the left arm onto the top of the right arm. Roll onto the right side. Fully take a breath in here. Bend the elbows, lift your head, and roll onto your back, keeping the bolster between your knees. Scoot the body over to the left. And if you know that the spine is stuck a little bit, prepare a block or a cushion to the upper right side of the mat for the right hand when we open. But first, roll the entire body onto the left side, bringing the knees high up. Maybe the left hand is under the head for the first part of the position. It's almost like a little fetus curled up in here, letting the whole body relax and the legs, hips, pelvis being supported by the bolster. You are on the left seam of your t-shirt, left seam of your thighs. Don't worry about what it looks like. It doesn't really matter. It matters what it feels like inside. Whenever we curl up, this is a nice and safe position for our brain. Remember, this is how we hang out in the womb for 9 months. So this is the safest position. And whenever we feel the more stressed and depleted, the brain is really trying to get us back to this comfortable position. Few more breaths in here. Then lift your head and take the arms out to the side. Left arm is on the bottom, right arm is on the top. Start reaching that right arm long. Start lifting the arm as one unit up towards the ceiling. Plug the right shoulder into the right arm, into the socket, and then turn the chest towards the ceiling while you're rolling onto the back. If the spine is stiff, you will need something to support that hand. If the spine is rotating well, you won't. Before we fully relax and breathe in here, press down through the head and see if you can shimmy the shoulder blades into a comfortable position. Then try to turn the belly button up to the ceiling, and maybe the right arm stays in a T position. Maybe it comes up a little higher to a V. Noticing the stretch and the opening through the entire right side of the body. Closing the eyes is always an option. Five full breath cycle. Notice the difference between the two sides twist. Notice which one feels familiar and which one feels strange. Which one feels that you could stay there forever, and which one is that you keep thinking, I need to get out now, I need to get out now. So the side that we think that we need to get out, that actually tells us that the body has a little less control, less mobility, less flexibility in that area. So when you practice on your own, I'd like you to think that on that tighter side, you stay a few extra breaths. Just to try to create some kind of balance. Achieving total balance in the body, and I regret that I have to say that to you, but there is no way that we can be fully balanced from left to right all the time. We can try to work on single side exercises and stretching. Maybe one side needs strengthening, the other side needs stretching. But just how we live our life, just by being the different hand dominant, leg dominant, eye dominant, one side of the body gets stronger in different ways than the other. Once is a doer stronger, and once is a supporter stronger. It's nice to know the difference. It's nice to have a couple of tricks to change and bring some evenness into the body. But again, it is really hard to create decades of right-handedness or left-handedness and switch everything around. Next inhale comes, bring your attention back to the right hand. Plug that right arm in, lift it up towards the ceiling. Start rolling onto your left side and then roll all the way to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left, to the left. Stay for one breath. Lift the head, press down through your hands and push yourself up to seated. Take that bolster out. Sit on your booty for a moment. Straighten the legs. All right. The good news is that we're going back onto the back. We just have to set up the feet to a certain, feet and legs to a certain position. So I'd like you to grab one block and place it on the lowest height. And the long side of the block is parallel to the short side of the mat. Then you grab the second block and place it on the medium height, the skinny way. The length of the block is parallel to the length of the mat. Your feet are going to be on the lower block. The heels have to be supported. The toes will hang off. And you're going to push gently into the second block. Not a lot, just try to find some contact in there. Then lean back onto your hands and scoot the pelvis closer to the blocks, to the heels. Notice your butterfly stretch. Be gentle on that. Don't push it too hard. We're going to go all the way back with the upper body. So make sure that you're not too close. Then bend the elbows and come down onto your forearms. And this is a good way. It might feel that I want to get closer to the blocks, but just stay for a moment. Let your legs, your hips open up. And then slowly lie back down onto the floor. Now, the first try, how far away we from the blocks, it might not be the right try. Some of us need to scoot away from the block with the pelvis, so just scoot, scoot, scoot. Some of us will need to get closer because we would like a little more stretch and release on the groins. We're not going to hold for very long. This is a 5-breath pose. Find where you need to be, and I'd like you to bring all 5 breaths into the lowest part of the groins. You could actually put your hands onto the inner thighs, where your inner thighs meet your pubic bone. 5 full breaths into that area. Try to expand the pelvic floor and the groin area with each inhale. Legs are just hanging. They should be fine for 5 breaths. Notice how the breath wants to come to the upper chest. No. I'm going to take a smooth inhale, smooth and slow and even until I get all the way down to the lower belly, to the pelvic floor, to the groins. And how do I know if the breath went there? I could feel my pubic bone widening and my sit bones moving away from each other with the inhale. Now, if any of those that I just said doesn't make sense, or you just started to roll your eyes because you have no idea how to do it, forget it. Just breathe as you like and take the breath where it wants to go. But the next time you practice, try again and try again and try again, because there is no more powerful sensation than being able to guide the breath to wherever you want it to be. Notice why you're trying to expand in the lower part of the body. What does the upper part do? I'm trying to expand around the pelvic floor. Am I tightening up my neck and my facial muscles? Can I release them as well? One more full breath. Then take your hands to the outside of the thighs. Use the strength of your hands to guide the knees and the thighs together. Feet are on the block, heels are on the block. Stay for a moment. And then step the feet away. Just push the block out to the side. Have the feet as wide as the mat and knock the knees together. We did this at the very beginning. Tip the pelvis back so the low back can flatten a little bit. Reach the right knee away from the right hip. The thighs are still touching gently. Left buttocks pushes into the floor. Reach the left knee up and away while the right buttocks pushes into the floor. So there is your sacrum opener again. Right leg reaches, right knee reaches, left buttock shifts into the floor. Left thigh, left knee, and the right buttocks shifts into the floor. One more time. And one more time through the left. And come through the center. Notice how the low back feels. Bring your knees into the chest, lift the head, shimmy a little bit from side to side, and then start rocking from front to back until you make yourself seated. Grab one of your blankets. We'll have one prone position before Shavasana. I'd like you to find the blanket and roll it up to a short, thick roller. We'll place that towards the top of your mat. And when we come down onto the belly, this stiff and thick blanket is going to be under the floating ribs and the belly button. Now, if you have never done this pose, make sure that that thick blanket is not as thick as mine was at the beginning. If your low back has been bugging you today, make sure that the blanket, the roller, is a little thinner than you would usually go. And then coming down onto the forearms, placing the floating ribs and the diaphragm area, kind of shimmy yourself onto that rolled up blanket. The top of the feet are on the floor, elbows and forearms directly under the shoulders. Look straight down, actually tuck in the chin a tiny bit. This should not be comfortable. Take a couple of breaths in here. Notice how this feels. Can you shimmy the buttocks from side to side, shifting the weight? Notice how that feels. And then maybe not, you just stay right in here. If this feels very easy, I'd like you to scoot your forearms forward so the elbows are going to be in front of the shoulder. More weight onto the rolled up blanket. This is a huge diaphragm stretch. It's also a huge energy right around the diaphragm. There is an energy center as well. So we're doing a lot in here. This position also helps with some digestive issues. So if you feel stuck for a couple of days, this is always a nice way to get digestion, motility going. If this is, again, too easy for you because you have been practicing with me for a while, take those arms all the way to the front and allow your upper body to sink into that blanket, forehead on the floor. Whatever you chose, we're going to take 5 breaths in there. If you chose the arms forward, then head on the floor, but you hold in your breath, that is not your position. Slide the arms further back towards you. I'd like you to find a position that you can actually take 5 full breaths in and out without thinking that you need to hurry out of here. That's not the right attitude. Running away from things, well, sometimes could be useful, of course, if we are in immediate danger, but solving problems, probably not. Sometimes we just have to sit in that sensation, simmer in it, and try to deal with it. Try to feel that uncomfortable, because maybe that uncomfortable sensation will open our eyes and help to see the next step, the solution to the problem. If you feel your belly gargling, you actually move in the air, the stuck air out of your upper digestive system, which is a good thing. So don't hold back. Let everything go. Soften the face, soften the jaw. And then slowly bring the elbows under the shoulders so you can press down to the right hand, tips sideways. Take that blanket out and come back onto your forearms. Lengthen up and forward with your rib cage. This back extension should feel really, really nice. Then lengthen the breastbone towards the floor. Bring the forearms onto the floor and rest your forehead onto the floor. Bend your knees, point the toes up to the ceiling like a ballerina, and give me 3 windshield wipers from side to side. Let the pelvis rock with the legs. Keep the toes pointing up and the ankles open. Once you did 3, flex the foot and ankle, push through the heel to the ceiling, knees still bent, and give me 3 side to side windshield wipers. Back to the center, straighten the legs. Lift the head, bring the arms under the shoulders so you can push yourself back on all fours. Widen the knees, feet together, and find the appropriate child's pose for you. 3 full breaths in here. Listen to your knees. Listen to your shoulders. Take a gentle twist to the left by threading the right armpit under the left, by threading the right arm under the left armpit. Shimmy the booty a little bit from side to side. Bring the right hand back to the center. Take the left arm under the right armpit. Again, shimmy the booty. Come on through the center. Child's pose, 3 more breaths. It's nice to put the forehead on the floor and maybe just roll gently on the forehead, not the whole weight, just a little bit of weight. It's very calming. Then scoop the arms under you so you can push up and swipe the legs around you. For Shavasana, grab your chair. It's hard to believe time is flying by when you have a lot of fun. Bring the chair to the top of your table and maybe a stool, maybe not. Put a blanket on the top of the chair. If you have a coffee table, that will do it. The other blanket will be under the head, so you can support the back of the neck and the head. Again, this is kind of judging a little bit the distance. Scoot your booty close to your own support and place the lower legs onto your chair or onto your stool. Make sure that the back of the knee is not hitting the chair, and then reach back for your blanket and place it under the neck and the head. Bring the hands onto the top of the pelvic bone, just as we did earlier, and see if you can tip the pelvis backwards so you would flatten the lumbar spine. This is a good time to figure out, am I in the right position for Shavasana? Do I need to scoot further away from the chair? Do I need to come closer? What do I have to do so I can fully unload the hips and the pelvis and release the spine onto the ground? Once you're in your position, bring your palms together and start rubbing your hands until you feel some heat in there. And then cover your eyes. Cover the eye sockets with your palms. Notice even through the eyelids, you can see some dark shades, if you will. You might feel some heat. If you like that position, Keep the hands in there. If this is not your favorite, it doesn't help you to relax, keep the eyes closed, bring the hands back down onto your pelvis, onto your heart, or down by your side. If you choose the hands down by your side, just turn the palms up. Let the body receive for the last few moments in here. There is no more breath control, there is no more guiding. And this is you surrendering onto the props. Don't be surprised if you fall asleep or if you take a little nap in here. If you have time, please feel free to do that. Just notice lightness, softness, surrender.